Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. Life is unfair.
Hey everybody, Alex the Critic here, and welcome back to The Drawing Board, the series where we take a look at failed animated pilots and try to figure out why they failed. For today's installment, we're going down to the House of Mouse to take a look at a rather interesting little treasure, the pilot for a Beverly Hills Chihuahua cartoon. For those of you who don't waste your time watching kitty shit, you might not know why I find the existence of this particular pilot so fascinating, so let me explain.
Beverly Hills Chihuahua is a trilogy of live-action talking dog films that were released by the Walt Disney Company between 2008 and 2012. The basic plot of the first film follows a snotty, selfish, rich female Chihuahua from the titular city of Beverly Hills named Chloe, who gets lost and ultimately kidnapped while on a forced vacation in Mexico. She then went on a harrowing journey where she learned to stop being such a bitch, pun intended, and got into two life-altering relationships, a friendship with a former police dog German Shepherd named Delgado, and a romantic relationship with a fellow Chihuahua named Poppy, who belonged to the gardener of Chloe's owner. The rest of the movies are, presumably, about Chloe and the rest of our colorful cast of characters going through slice-of-life shenanigans. I say presumably because, despite multiple attempts, I have never sat through the entirety of any of these movies.
And I know how that sounds coming from me of all people. After all, I'm a man with an esoteric sense of humor who willingly puts himself through some of the worst pieces of media known to man. Hell, I unironically enjoy the Channel Awesome anniversary films, including To Boldly Flee, and yet I can't bring myself to finish these talking Chihuahua movies? What gives? Well, my principal hurdle with this franchise is best summarized by the Nostalgia Critic.
I'm so bored, so very, very bored. I'd rather watch a bunch of cupcakes, sing a merry song, and then go surfing on a door. It's so dull, there's nothing to say. I'd rather sugarcoat a leprechaun, feed him to a dog, and then go play some croquet.
And that's really it. This trilogy is the epitome of boring. And by the halfway point of each of these films, I'm either getting lost in my own thoughts or am actively paying attention to something else. So you can just imagine my horror when I learned that the producers of these films were planning to adapt them into a full-fledged animated series, plans that materialized into an 11-minute pilot. Now, any normal person would have left well enough alone and never interacted with this franchise ever again. In fact, the only reason why I've interacted with these films as often as I have is because my youngest brother was obsessed with them. However, I'm a masochist who never passes up the opportunity to make spicy content, so I went out and watched this pilot. The results of my endeavor were interesting, to say the least. Why do I say that? Well, let's get into the review to find out.
As with most pilots, Beverly Hills Chihuahuas opens with a, well, opening. And you know what? The theme song fucking slaps. No, I am not kidding. The theme song to this pilot is one of the catchiest I've ever heard. Seriously, have a listen to it for yourself.
My name is Poppy and I come from East LA. My girl's Chloe and she's west side all the way. Oh, it doesn't matter where we're from or where we stay. We're tiny, we're mighty, we kick it every day. Chihuahua
everything about this theme song. The lyrics, while simple, are clever, bouncy, and most importantly, adequately explain the core premise of the show, which is that our working class main character, Poppy, has to adjust to being part of high class society. The instrumental is a seamless blend of Latin folk, funk, and house rap that makes you want to get up and dance. Best of all, it's actually subversive, since you'd think a cartoon that takes place in Beverly Hills would have a fancy orchestral theme song, but this pilot instead offers us something that sounds like it would be playing at a suburban block party. Unlike Primos, whose theme song tried to be subversive by being about how the main character hates her family, but wound up sounding like every single stereotypical Mexican song you could possibly think of. With that said, the theme song isn't perfect. There's a few issues I take with it.
For one, the singer doesn't explain how Poppy and Chloe got together, which was a pretty huge plot line in the original movie.
And before some smart guy goes, "Well, Alex, you'd already know how if you had watched that movie," let me remind you that this pilot is supposed to be an adaptation, meaning that it's supposed to introduce the story to people that might not have seen the original. That is the principal reason why adaptations are made. If you neglect to explain certain aspects of the source material, you're just gonna leave potential newcomers completely confused.
Speaking of neglecting the source material, where the hell are the rest of the characters? We see Chloe's owner, Aunt Vivian, but where's Poppy's owner? Where are their children? Where's Delgado? What about the iguana and mouse duo who were voiced by Cheech and Chong? I see an iguana in this opening, but she's clearly a girl and has an entirely different design.
This leads us to the second problem with this theme song. It introduces two new characters who are unique to the pilot to us without explaining anything about them.
This female macaw and the aforementioned iguana are not from the movies, at least as far as I can remember, and the theme song teaches us nothing about them. The only things we see the iguana do is get caught up in the shenanigans of our main characters, which doesn't really tell us much about who they are. I mean, there's this shot of the iguana storming off, presumably to confront somebody, while Poppy has to hold her back by her tail, and this other shot where she breaks up a romantic moment between Poppy and Chloe. So I guess we're supposed to gather from them that she's a stubborn character with a fiery temper who doesn't like that our two protagonists are a couple for some reason.
Whatever, that's at least more characterization than the fucking bird gets.
No joke, this macaw appears in the opening a grand total of 2 times, and all we see her do is get scared by something we can't see and get her talons painted as if they're toenails by Chloe.
Ironic?
Hell, even Aunt Vivian doesn't get much characterization in this opening, and she's a major character in the movies. Her single dedicated scene only serves to establish that she owns Poppy and Chloe, unless Poppy's owner does exist in this continuity and just doesn't show up for whatever reason. The lyrics don't even name drop her, so if you haven't seen any of the movies, you wouldn't know who this was. The lyrics don't name drop any of the other characters. The producers just expect you to know who these characters are right off the bat. And considering that this was a test pilot meant to convince Disney executives to greenlight this series, that's not only unwise, but improbable.
However, all of this pales in comparison to the biggest problem with this opening, which are the visuals.
90% of the shots in this opening are taken directly from the pilot. This isn't a lie. The vast majority of the scenes are not original animation. Chloe turning off this radio, the iguana looking surprised by this plate of desserts? Yeah, these were all ripped straight from the episode we're about to watch, and the cherry on top is that very few of these clips bear any relation to the core themes of the show. We're stuck watching the characters go through generic cartoon mayhem, which are poorly synced up with what the singer is singing about. To be fair, some of the lyrics match up with the visuals, like Poppy putting his foot down when the singer talks about not being allowed to scratch at fleas anymore, and the producers did manage to sync up the laughing and yelling in the song with shots of characters laughing or screaming surprisingly well. There are also a few pieces of original animation in this opening. The character introductory cards are original, as is the title card at the end of it. They aren't visually amazing, but at least they're unique to the theme song. The animators even took this scene of Aunt Vivian holding our protagonists that's from the episode and superimposed it over this festive light blue background. There's also this shot of Poppy wearing scuba gear while walking towards the swimming pool, and later being chased by a fish in that swimming pool that does not come from the pilot. It's just that none of this is enough to forgive how lazy the rest of the visuals are.
With that said, the theme song is still a solid 7 out of 10. If the lyrics were fleshed out just a teensy bit more to fully explain what the hell's going on with all of these changes to the film's source material, and the reused footage was replaced with original animation that complemented the lyrics, this would be the perfect opening. Even then, however, I wouldn't mind listening to this song as it is on its own, which is way more than I can say for the soundtracks to the original trilogy.
Ja-ja, Chihuahua, big ears, little dog.
Seriously, what the fuck? Alright, that's enough about the theme song. We're like 10 minutes into this review, and we haven't even gotten to the main event. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is the Beverly Hills Chihuahuas.
Our pilot opens on an establishing shot of a large white mansion that's surrounded by fancy greenery and waterworks. We smash cut to the living room, where Chloe is busy sprucing herself up with makeup.
Wait a minute. Isn't perfume poisonous to dogs? Chloe is either incredibly suicidal, or she has an immune system so strong that scientists need to start studying it.
You spend so much time fussing with how you look. A couple of licks and a roll in the grass and I'm ready to go.
Hey, that's not George Lopez. What kind of trick are these producers trying to pull here?
Yes, among many other things, the actors for our characters were changed for the pilot. In the original movie, Poppy, Chloe, and Aunt Vivian were played by George Lopez, Drew Barrymore, and Jamie Lee Curtis, respectively. In the pilot, they were replaced by... Actually, nobody seems to know. The pilot doesn't have any end credits, it just smash cuts to a black screen, which is weird enough on its own, and none of the various wiki pages for this thing have any information on who the voice actors were. Based on the comments under the re-upload of this pilot on YouTube, Chloe might have been voiced by Odette Enable, the same actress who took on the role of Chloe for the last two Beverly Hills Chihuahua movies after Drew Barrymore realized she had better uses for her talents. Which, if true, would make her the only actor from the movies who reprised their role for this pilot. As for the female iguana, whose name is Rosie, she might have been played by Nika Fudaman, who is perhaps most famous in the animation world for voicing the best girl in Sonic Boom, Styx the Badger.
That's why I created these. Good thinking, Tails. We'll stuff these with leaves, dump them in the ocean, and start a new life 2 towns over.
No, they're high-tech wetsuits for battling Eggman underwater.
Fine. We'll go with Plan B.
Outside of that, however, there are no details as to who voiced the rest of these characters, which is really sad. Voice acting is arguably the most important aspect of a cartoon. A good voice actor can take a bland, laughable script and turn it into high art. They can make you really feel the emotions that their characters are trying to convey through their facial expressions, and land jokes that would otherwise fall flat. To see that this entire pilot's voice cast has essentially had their work undocumented is honestly fucked up. I mean, voice acting is already one of the lowest paying and most disrespected roles in the entertainment industry. And now you're telling me that voice actors don't even get credited for their work sometimes?
That's rough, buddy.
But anyways, back to the pilot.
Chloe reminds Poppy that they'll be hosting an extremely rare bird later that day, so she needs to look her absolute best. Poppy tries to lay the moves on her, but Rosie breaks the 2 lovebirds up and fixes a nice scarf onto her neck. Chloe remarks that a different scarf would look better on her, and sends Rosie off to go fetch it, only to warm up to the one Rosie initially picked out and stop her in her tracks so she can put all the other scarves she tried out back where they came from.
So how's my outfit? Is this skirt too tight? No? Good? Oh, thanks, Chloe.
Little does Aunt Vivian know that Chloe said that outfit made her look fat.
Good morning, Esperanza. Oh.
Oh hey, it's that background bird from Rio 2 that everybody tries to ship Blue with.
Isn't Esperanza magnificent? Esperanza's the reason the amazing Sigmund is photographing my new dress designs. He is crazy about birds, and he's a genius with a camera.
So, how exactly did Aunt Vivian get a hold of this animal? I can't imagine that it's legal to own a bird that rare, so did a zoo lend it to her? Did she get it from a friend? Did she have it captured? I'm not exactly sure that wildlife trafficking is something that Disney wants to promote to kids.
Just as Aunt Vivian is finishing her little spiel, her doorbell goes off. She walks over to the door and opens it, whereupon she finally meets Sigmund, a short, pudgy guy with a mad scientist haircut.
Sigmund!
My Amazonian princess! I am so happy to be seeing you are safe. Not that you shouldn't be safe, for there's no one trying to birdnap you. Someone is trying to birdnap her!
Wow, that was the most obvious and lazy exposition dump I have seen in quite a while. I wonder what the primary conflict of the story is gonna be. Also, if Esperanza is actively being hunted down by kidnappers, then why doesn't Aunt Vivian have a bodyguard or 2 on hand to keep her from getting snatched?
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Can the beauty of a Brazilian sunset be captured in feathers? I say yes!
Alright dude, tone it down a notch. I don't want to have to report you for zoophilia.
Please, you must listen. Esperanza has become the target of Le Chat Gateau, the cat burglar. He travels around the world stealing all things worth the many monies. He uses the latest of high-tech gadgets to break into anywhere.
He must live in a universe full of idiots then, because rich people aren't gonna tolerate seeing some weird little helicopter flying around their neighborhood in broad daylight.
To Le Chat Gateau, Esperanza is the unresistible treasure. She must be kept the safest of the safe.
Seriously? None of you people are hearing or seeing any of this? Hello?
To be absolutely fair, the obliviousness of our protagonists is supposed to be one of the running jokes of the episode, as Aunt Vivian assures Sigmund that her home is decked with a security system that allows her to shield the windows with iron bars. Iron bars that just so happen to slam on our main bad guy's fingers while she unassumedly activates it.
That is excellent. Ooh, and you have the guard dogs too. I like the scarf.
Okay, that one I'm not forgiving. Really, Sigmund? You really think that these two Chihuahuas are Aunt Vivian's guard dogs? And even if they were, do you really think that they're gonna be strong enough to stop a fully grown cat burglar armed with state-of-the-art technology? God, you're as delusional as the people who think that Bad Bunny makes good music.
This one, I smell grass.
Gracias, dude. It's backyard lawn number 5.
That must be the garbage perfume they sell at Target. Heyo!
Be on guard, fearsome ones. But don't let her know about Le Chat Gâteau. When Esperanza gets scared, her feathers fall out.
Are you sure that we shouldn't be sending this bird to a wildlife veterinarian? Because that does not sound like the kind of condition that a healthy animal would have.
Poppy comments on how Esperanza losing her feathers would be a bad look for them, to which Chloe agrees. We then cut back to Sigmund, who's...
Alright, weirdo, strike 2. If I catch you doing any more fucky shit, I'm calling the cops.
Anyways, Sigmund walks off, informing Aunt Vivian that he's got another photo shoot to be at, and that once he's done there, he'll circle back and do theirs. After making a wacky exit where he pretends to fly like a bird, he briefly returns to Aunt Vivian, hands her a peeler, and orders her to peel Esperanza's grapes.
Chloe, Poppy, do you think you could be sweeties and watch over her? That's my princess.
Ah, yes. Because I'm sure that trusting 2 tiny, weak animals whom you can carry with your own hand won't lead to disastrous consequences. Like, say what you will about Joe Exotic's crimes, but at least he had the excuse that he was a dumb redneck.
We need to keep Esperanza safe and happy.
Let me guess. Esperanza is gonna be revealed to be an impatient, stuck-up, and impossible-to-please bitch, isn't she?
I am not happy, Chloe. Not at all. What is this place? A closet? And why do I smell grass?
Ugh. Who wrote this story? Butch Hartman?
Poppy will freshen up the room with some flowers. Meanwhile, we have some chocolatey Belgian truffles to help you relax.
Why is Poppy getting excited over that plate of truffles? Does he not realize that chocolate is dangerous for him? This would be like a human being drooling over the sight of cyanide. And wait a minute, chocolate is poisonous to birds too. What the hell are you guys doing? Esperanza has been in your care for less than a minute, and you're already going to kill her.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Ugh! Anyways, Esperanza is, at first, entranced by the arrival of her sweets, but when Rosie sets the plate down and reveals herself, she squawks in terror at her unsightly appearance. She orders Chloe to get her away from her chocolates, but Chloe informs her that Rosie is her assistant for some reason. Like, does Aunt Vivian own Rosie too? If so, then why? And why did Chloe make a tinier animal her assistant? There's gotta be easier options to go with than her. Did Rosie just offer to do it? Was she forced to? How did she even get involved with all of these people in the first place?
It just raises too many questions.
Anyways, Esperanza warns Rosie to check herself before she wrecks herself, which Rosie does not take kindly to. She prepares to walk over and literally beat some sense into her, but Poppy stops her and begs her to calm down.
Are you guys starting to see why I thought that letting these guys take care of Esperanza was a terrible idea?
Certainly. You'll have my personal attention. Now Poppy will get those flowers and I...
Pink. Pink roses, I think.
Oh, we have some lovely pink
No, let's try lilacs.
Man, this bird is as picky and fickle as YouTube commenters. But not you guys, you're great.
Naturally, we smash cut to a montage of Esperanza ringing her bell and forcing Chloe to bring her different types of flowers, none of which are to her liking. Meanwhile, the cat burglar, God, what a stupid name that is, tries to break into the house in another way, by picking the lock to the front door with his surprisingly simple Swiss Army knife.
Seriously? This guy has all of this advanced technology at his disposal, and yet he doesn't have some sort of special device that makes lockpicking easier? Hell, even Mr. Krabs was a smarter burglar than this.
Also, let's not forget that the windows are no longer barred. This guy could break into this mansion through the windows like he tried to before, but no, just waste your valuable time picking the front lock.
And before somebody says, but Alex, he'd get caught by the dogs if he did that, I have two counters. One, he's still committing his crimes in broad daylight. I'm pretty sure somebody must have noticed him by now. He isn't exactly keeping a low profile. Two, he could just wait until Esperanza is alone before he kidnaps her, or cause some sort of a distraction that leaves her all alone.
Anyways, the lock winds up being more trouble than it looks, and our villain actually breaks his lockpick after only a few attempts. I would ask why he doesn't just cut through the glass portion of the door, since it's probably made out of the same material as the window he cut through. But I don't want to waste another minute ranting about the stupidity of this plotline. We cut back to Esperanza continuing to make Chloe and Poppy do all sorts of menial tasks for her, like getting her fruit, cooling her off with a fan, and peeling grapes for her. All while the main villain of the episode tries and fails to break through their front door.
You know, dude, at a certain point, wouldn't you just give up and try to break into the house through the back door or something? Also, what the hell is that door made out of? Like, goddamn, I gotta get me one of those doors.
Oh yeah, by the way, this entire montage lasts a full minute. No joke, a solid minute is wasted on us watching Esperanza making our protagonists do sillier and sillier things. All while the cat burglar continues to fail at breaking into Aunt Vivian's house.
I wouldn't be too mad about this if the shenanigans were at least funny, but they're not.
To be fair, the scene of Poppy trying to peel a grape and the villain using a jackhammer on the door did get a chuckle out of me, but the rest of the mayhem is so painfully average. The animators are clearly trying to ape the style of Tom and Jerry here, but I'm sorry, the art direction of this pilot is too cute, smooth, and most importantly of all, stiff to pull it off successfully.
This is the animation equivalent of watching children trying to imitate a cool scene that they saw in a Hollywood blockbuster.
Anyways, once the montage is over, we smash cut back to Chloe, who buries her paws in cups of hot water in an effort to relax from her hard day of work. Poppy tells her he'll help make her environment more relaxing as soon as he's done peeling Esperanza's grapes, which causes Chloe to go off on a huge rant about how ridiculously demanding their feathered friend is. Poppy and Rosie both laugh her off, and when Chloe asks how they're able to maintain their high spirits, they give her the following answer.
First, that is one very silly bird. Second, no matter what the job is, I try to do it the very best I can. Really. Have you seen my grapes?
Work isn't always fun, Miss Chloe, but you can take pride in doing it well.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What the fuck is this? A valuable lesson about making the best out of a bad situation and picking yourself up by your bootstraps? It was Disney that produced this, right? Because this seems like the sort of lesson you would learn in a Cartoon Network show, and I gotta respect that.
So after that surprisingly mature conversation, Esperanza rings her annoying-ass bell once again. And a reinvigorated Chloe smiles at the sound.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see where the writers take this plot from here. Right, I forgot that we still had to deal with this nonsense. Well, at least the writers won't do anything more stupid, like having Aunt Vivian walk right into our main antagonist, mistake him for being the flower delivery man, despite him being obviously dressed up as a burglar, and thus giving him the perfect opportunity to sneak through the front door.
I'll be back in an hour. Just don't bother the bird. Oh, the flower delivery is here.
Why am I even surprised about this? Aunt Vivian is the same idiot who entrusted the safety of a flying animal to two dogs who can't even jump onto your average kitchen countertop.
God! Anyhow, we smash cut to the backyard, where Chloe tells Esperanza that she put together 2 different types of nail polish to put on her, since she didn't have the one she wanted. Esperanza is pleased about this, after which we see Poppy drag a tree over to them. Chloe asks what he's doing, and we get this admittedly funny response.
I could not convince the sun to change its course, as Esperanza requested. So I'm planting this tree to give her the proper shade.
As Esperanza finally starts to loosen up, she gets excited upon hearing some music from her native country, which Chloe had the courtesy to download on her not iPod. She revels in how perfect everything is, after which Chloe calls back to the moral of the episode by explaining how she takes pride in her work. Poppy gives her a knowing wink, and then we smash cut back to our antagonist, who has finally made his way into the living room. I guess he stopped to admire the entranceway's interior decorating. He looks for Esperanza, but is stunned to find her missing. We then cut back to our main couple, who have the following conversation.
See? You feel better about your job because you did your best.
You know, finding the right nail color was actually fun.
If it makes you happy, you can paint my nails.
Okay, what the hell is going on here? Why is this conversation so sweet and uplifting? This is the pilot for a Beverly Hills Chihuahua cartoon, for fuck's sake. It's not supposed to invoke real emotions within me.
Anyways, their little soiree is interrupted by Poppy finally noticing the burglars sneaking about their house. You know, for being dogs, they sure do have a terrible sense of hearing, don't they?
That cage! He's looking for Esperanza!
Birdnapper!
Nah, really? And here I thought he was just a flower delivery guy.
They run towards the burglar and bite him right in the behind, and then spend the next couple seconds just kind of running around him. I'm guessing they're trying to make him dizzy, but their plan fails as Cat Burglar simply picks up his cage and traps the 2 of them in it. He then takes them to a closet and shuts them inside.
I would pay to see Aunt Vivian try and explain her utter incompetence to the authorities.
That could have gone better.
We have to save Esperanza.
Don't worry, you guys. I know just who to call.
Oh yeah, here comes Kool-Aid, here comes Kool-Aid, I'm gonna save the day.
We cut back to the burglar, who's checking the living room for any signs of Esperanza. Rosie comes across him and uses her camouflage ability to blend into the wall so that he doesn't see her. The diversion works, and once the coast is clear, she dashes over to where Chloe and Poppy are barking from and...
What are you doing? There's a bird napper here.
First of all, they obviously got trapped there. Why else would they be barking?
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Second of all, good God, she jumped all the way up onto that doorknob so easily. How the hell did she accomplish that? Esperanza was right. That ain't no iguana, that's an alien invader.
Anyways, after being freed from the closet, Chloe and Poppy sneak past the living room and into the backyard, where Esperanza is enjoying her afternoon, none the wiser to the shenanigans going on around her. They try to trick her into running away from the thief by pretending to offer her another activity. But they eventually resort to just shoving her ass into the mud in hopes of having her blend into her surroundings. Esperanza is offended by her treatment, but having been told that she's being given a mud bath, she quickly goes back into relaxation mode, and Poppy disguises her further by planting some flowers around her. After ordering her to lay back and close her eyes, they hide behind a nearby water fountain while the burglar searches the area, oblivious as to where his prey is. The plan seems to be going well until...
This is delightful, but it would be perfect with some truffles.
Man, if only we had thought to take that stupid bell away from her while we were manhandling her. Hey, where was Esperanza keeping that thing anyways?
Is this thing working? I can't hear a thing.
God damn, how dense is the soil over in Beverly Hills?
The mud. She can't hear anything. Go ahead, Chloe. Use your bark. Tiny is mighty.
Wait, what?
Embrace that which makes you mighty, Chloe.
The hell is happening?
Chihuahuas, hear us roar.
Hello?
Alright, stop! Guys, you do realize that you can't just have your characters do shit like this without explaining what's going on to the audience, right? After all, some of them might not have seen the movies that this pilot is based off of. I mean, to do otherwise is just weak writing.
Okay, for those of you who are confused by what Chloe just did, here's the breakdown. In the first Beverly Hills Chihuahua movie, she and Poppy stumbled upon some kind of native dog civilization who helped Chloe discover some hidden mystical ability she has called the Super Bark. It works kind of like how Bolt's Super Bark works. You know, it's a massive blast of sound waves that blow things away. At least, that's what I can vaguely remember. I don't know if she actually had any magical abilities in the movies, because, again, I can't be bothered to watch them that far. But that's where this Super Bark idea came from. How does she have this ability if she never went to Mexico in this continuity? Why can't Poppy do this?
Nobody knows.
Like, I wanna give these guys credit for actually incorporating elements of the movies in this pilot. That's much more than what the Bubsy pilot did, but they did it in such a half-assed way that I'm wondering if they were just trying to write themselves out of a corner. Seriously, if you didn't watch any of the movies, you'd have no idea how the hell Chloe does any of this.
Anyhow, when Chloe and Poppy check up on Esperanza, she comments on how her feathers are now glossier than ever, because I guess shouting really hard at birds has that effect on them or whatever. When Esperanza asks who the guy locked in the cage behind them is, Chloe tells her not to worry about it, only for Poppy to say the following.
See, thanks to my brave Chloe, his bird napping days are over.
Poppy!
Uh-oh.
Bird napping? He was trying to...
Cat Burglar winds up getting tossed into the back of a police van, with the authorities seemingly having no questions for Aunt Vivian about how he got as far as he did. And after seeing them off, Poppy meets up with Chloe and Rosie in the living room. Before he arrives, however, we're treated to the following conversation between them.
Rosie, you do everything I ask, no matter how crazy it is.
And you know I take pride in every job you give me.
But I also learned how tiring it can be, waiting on someone hand and foot, or wing and claw in my case. I can't ask you to do that anymore.
Miss Chloe, I'm a lizard.
I know that.
Lizards don't get paid. I do what I do because I want to. It's not the order from a boss. It's the request of a friend.
Oh, Rosie.
Just don't buy a bell.
Gah. I want to like this scene because it shows legitimate character growth from Chloe and is just an overall sweet moment between her and Rosie, but there's just one nagging problem that I have with it. It isn't earned.
I mean, the lesson that Chloe is apparently learning here is to appreciate the friends she has and not be a spoiled little bitch. Why doesn't that work? Because Chloe didn't act like a bitch whatsoever during this story. If anything, she's way more chill and kind in this pilot than she ever was in any of the movies. She didn't mistreat Poppy nor Rosie in the slightest, and the only things we saw her do was make Rosie bring her scarves to try on and then put them back. Yeah, I guess she was a little curt to Poppy when he asked her why she was getting dressed up for Esperanza, but that's not the least bit awful. The writers did not do nearly enough to make her little speech here narratively satisfying. It's like there are scenes missing from this pilot that the producers decided to cut in order to meet the 11-minute runtime.
But, you know, at least they're trying to endear us to these characters, and to an extent, they've succeeded. I got a warm, fuzzy feeling in my cold black heart from watching this scene, even if it was nonsensical, so I gotta give him credit for that. Now, let's see where the writers take things from here.
Hold it in, Poppy. Don't do this.
Alright, based, real men don't cry over every little emotional thing that happens.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what to do.
Oh my god, it's a monster! US military, you know what to do!
Launch the missile now!
Hi, Chihuahua.
He said it!
As Chloe runs over to Esperanza, she bemoans the fact that Sigmund will be there soon to take pictures of her, and asks our protagonists to help fix her horrible appearance. Chloe tells her it won't be a problem, as all they need to do is glue some feathers onto her. Poppy gets the bright idea to grab said feathers from one of the pillows on Chloe's bed, and they dress her up in an ornate white and gold outfit, complete with complimentary talon paint and hair accessories, making her look even more gorgeous than she did before, at least according to Sigmund. He happily takes photos of Esperanza, who's flanked on both sides by models dressed in clothes that Aunt Vivian designed, while we cut back to our protagonists.
Who would think birds could do that with their feathers? There's so much I don't know.
Yeah, and it's so fortunate that Esperanza just so happened to undergo this radical transformation while she was under your care. think.
Ugh. Anyways, the episode ends with Poppy comedically bombing the shoot and asking to be photographed while draping a fruity-looking scarf on his neck, followed by this quick snapshot of our main cast looking happily at Sigmund's camera.
So that was the pilot for Beverly Hills Chihuahuas. And you know what? I think Squidward Tentacles summarizes my feelings about it pretty well.
Wow, that was actually kind of good.
Yeah, I know I spent a lot of time in this review shitting all over it, but that was partly me just being a nitpicky asshole. If I were to be perfectly honest, there's actually a ton of things I love about this pilot. The character designs are cute and appealing. The characters themselves are well-rounded and likable. The voice acting was actually really solid, which just makes the fact that none of the voice actors got credited extra fucked up. A few of the jokes got a chuckle out of me, and of course, the theme song was an absolute bop. It also taught a genuinely great lesson that most children's shows never teach. That being said, this pilot was by no means perfect. Both our main antagonist and Aunt Vivian act like complete morons, to the point where it negatively affected my investment in the story. There's an entire minute wasted on a mostly unfunny montage whose purpose is to beat us over the head with plot points that were already established. The writers turned character traits from the movies into sloppy deus ex machinas because they wrote themselves into a corner. And some of the morals the pilot was trying to teach fell flat because the characters didn't go through the arc that was necessary for them to learn said moral. Another thing I haven't gotten to mention yet is that the soundtrack to this pilot is pretty terrible. When we aren't being treated to generic Latin pop riffs and dramatic stings, the producers stuck an instrumental-only version of the theme song 2 separate times in the episode. Once during the montage, and again at the end.
Truly inspired. Esperanza, she is even more adorable than before. Come on, ladies.
Sheesh, talk about lazy. And while the character designs were really good, the actual animation was very subpar. There were loads of missing frames, choppy character movements, and even occasional animation errors. Not the sort of things you wanna see in your test pilot. Hell, the main reason why a lot of the slapstick comedy fell flat was because the animation wasn't up to snuff. Your characters need to have liquid, rubbery movements if you want their falls and tumbles to have real weight to them. Yet the characters here moved like robots.
All in all, this pilot wasn't half as bad as I was expecting it to be. Believe me, when I first heard that the producers of one of the most boring film trilogies I have ever suffered through planned to make a full-on animated adaptation that materialized into a pilot, I was sure that it was gonna be bad enough to warrant an angry excoriation. And while I do have my issues with this pilot, it was nevertheless a pleasant surprise. It's damn good for what it is, and I honestly wouldn't have minded if it did turn into a full-fledged series. So why didn't it? Well, my joke theory is that it didn't have George Lopez in it. The Disney executives heard Poppy's new voice and said, sorry, but if George isn't involved in this, then we're not interested. The truth is, unfortunately, less funny.
According to all my available sources, what doomed Beverly Hills Chihuahuas was its timing. While the original live-action movie was a massive financial success, its 2 follow-ups did not do nearly as well, with the third movie barely making a fraction of what the first one did. While the films had, and still have, a cult following, by the release of the third film, general audiences pretty much said adios to this franchise. As a result, Disney put the kibosh on any future installments, despite the fact that the pilot was developed by none other than Tad Stones. You know, one of the core creative minds behind some of Disney's most beloved cartoons, such as Darkwing Duck, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and The Adventures of the Gummy Bears. Hell, his last work as an animator before working on this pilot was as a storyboard artist and revisionist for the first season of Bob's Burgers, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, the producers of these films hired a legitimate heavy hitter in the animation world to make their pilot for them, which is probably why the story ended up as decent as it was. And what did they gain for their efforts?
Nothing.
Oh well, that's just how life goes. Sometimes having a good idea isn't enough to prevent you from having to go back to the drawing board. I'm Alex the Critic, and I'll see you guys next time.